going on, everybody? It's the IT guy here again. So today I was digging up the old HP laptop, and the old HP laptop had a Windows 10 installation on there, but it only has like a Core i5 and 4 gigs of RAM, so I think it might be better to install a lightweight Linux distribution. And the distribution of my choice would be Ubuntu, but because this laptop uh, is, pretty old. I don't want to throw a full-fledged Ubuntu installation on there, so I'm gonna throw a lightweight Ubuntu distribution called XUbuntu, and XUbuntu is actually a bit of a stripped down version, bit less graphically intense uh, version of Ubuntu that will require less system resources. So ideal for older type laptops, if you have, or older type PCs. If you have an older type PC lying around, this distribution is pretty much all you're going to need if you want to do some simple web browsing, and if you don't care about all the fancy graphics details that is in the classic Ubuntu. So I'm going to go over the complete installation process. I already did a video on Ubuntu, how to make a USB drive, a bootable USB drive with Ubuntu, but that was a couple of months ago, so I think I'm gonna do the whole process all over again and show you exactly how you can install this operating system, how you can install XUbuntu on your machine. So stick around and we'll go over all the steps in this video. So right now we're on the XUbuntu website. The website is XUbuntu.com, and as you can see, XUbuntu is an elegant and easy to use operating system. XUbuntu comes with XFCE, which is a stable, light, and configurable desktop environment, which is true. It's stable, it's light, and it's pretty configurable. You can, I've seen people tweaking around with it. You can pretty much change it the way you want it to change. There's pretty much no real limit to how you can configure the operating system. So that's good. That's just what we need. So over here we can choose to download the 18.4 long-term support. So I always the long-term support. Why do I choose long-term support? Because this will make sure that you can update all the software on there. Because recently I had so my older laptop contained the so there's always a version in between the long-term support. So Ubuntu long-term support 18.04 is the most recent long-term support, but in between there was a 17, and for some reason the repositories, so the update repositories, which are basically the libraries that your Linux distribution reads its updates out off of, were no longer available. So I could not update any of my software. I was running the sudo apt update and nothing was happening. It said that the repositories were no longer available, and that might be the case if you don't use the long-term support. So these distributions, they change over time, and the long-term support distributions, they guarantee you the support over a longer period of time. And as you can see over here, it's supported at least until April 2021. So that's why I always choose the long-term support. So go ahead and choose the XUbuntu 18.4 LTS, or if you're watching this in the future, always go for the LTS. This will make sure that you don't have to, switch the operating systems in the later stadium. So go ahead and download over here. And we're going to see here, we are going with a mirrored download, and since I live in Belgium, I am going with the nearest, let's say Netherlands over here. And we need the ISO, so this is the 1.3 gigabyte ISO file. Go ahead and click that. So just make sure that you go for the AMD 64 version, unless you have a very old computer. In that case, you go for the i386 version. And in the meanwhile, we can go over to Rufus. Rufus.ie is a website. So over here, Rufus.ie. I'll link all the URLs in the description below so you can find it later. Go ahead and click over here, Rufus 3.4. Of course, if you're watching this in the future and the version has been changed to 3.5 or higher, you can go ahead and download that too. So the download has finished. Go ahead and open up the Rufus 3.4.exe file. I'm doing this on a Windows installation, of course. I might do one on a Linux distribution, how you can, but that's actually pretty easy. You don't need any third-party software. You can just create your own little USB bootable drive by just using a simple command, a built-in command in Linux called dd. But more on that in the later video. For now, we're going with Rufus. So we have already a USB drive handy. This one is 16 gigabytes large, so that's good. That one is inserted over here. This has the H label. Whatever your USB drive should pop up in this little drop down menu over here. So now we have to choose an ISO file. We can go over and select. Let's select XUbuntu over here. This is the one we just downloaded. Go ahead and open it and start and click yes. And then the first, of course, just write in ISO image mode, recommended. Just click OK and click OK again. This is just to warn you that all the data on the USB drive will be removed. So, be sure that there are no pictures or any other precious data on there, because it will all be gone. So this is all done, as you can see. The status is ready, so you can go ahead and close it, and then we have to go over to our USB device tray and then eject it safely. Or if you're a real rascal, if you're a real, if you are a adrenaline junkie and you really don't care about life, then you can go ahead and remove it without ejecting safely. So that's up to you. So now remove the USB drive and let's go over to our machine. So right now we are in the installation menu. Now, of course, I did skip the step where you insert the USB stick on the computer and boot it off the USB stick, but the reason why I skip it is it's because I cannot show you how to do it on your computer. I have an HP laptop over here, maybe you have an Acer laptop over at your house or at your place. Maybe you have an MSI BIOS, maybe you have a Gigabyte BIOS. All different kinds of BIOSes that are nothing alike, and the way you do it in an HP laptop might be completely different than the way you do it in an Acer laptop, or maybe the way you do it in the Acer laptop is completely different from the way you do it in an MSI laptop, or maybe you have a desktop PC and you built your own computer and you have this very sophisticated BIOS with UEFI functions. Those are all things that are so different, so I cannot show you a basic guide on how to boot from your USB stick on your computer. It just doesn't work like that because it's all different in every computer. So I suggest you just grab the old user manual, or maybe call your manufacturer and ask them how you do that. Maybe they'll be willing to answer that question for you, but I cannot show you because it is so different in every single machine. So that's why I skip that step and I go straight to this step, which is showing you how to install it once you boot it off of your USB drive. So here we are in the installation menu. We are going with the standard stuff. We're going with English, and over here you can first try XUbuntu, see if you like it. Maybe if you don't like it, you don't want to install this operating system on your computer, you can try it over here. It'll give you a temporary installation of XUbuntu, so you can try it out first and see if you like it. But we are going with this option over here. We're going to install XUbuntu. Over here you can choose the keyboard layout. We're going with English. Continue. Over here you can choose to download updates while installing XUbuntu. You can leave that checked if you have an internet connection. If you're on Wi-Fi, You can also leave that checked. This will make sure that everything that XUbuntu downloads from the Ubuntu repositories, they will be all up to date once it's installed, or pretty much, somewhat up to date. So that's a good thing to leave that checked. I would not check this over here, leave that unchecked, because third-party software for graphics and Wi-Fi hardware, you're better off using the default drivers at first. Maybe you want to use a proprietary driver, maybe you want to use an open source driver. Those are all options that will be available later, so leave this unchecked because it's better to do it afterwards, in my honest opinion. So go ahead and click continue. And right now you have the option, if you already have a Windows installation, XUbuntu will detect that installation, and you'll see that this machine already has Windows 10 on it. So we can go ahead and install it alongside Windows 10, which will give us a dual boot option. And the dual boot option will give us the option, once the PC is booting, there will be this list where you can choose off of, and the first option will be, of course, the XUbuntu installation, and then there will be the option to choose the Windows 10 installation. But in this case, I don't want to use the Windows 10 installation anymore. I want to erase the disk completely and install XUbuntu with a clean installation, with a completely empty drive. So these options can also remain unticked. I don't use the logical volume manager, and the encryption is also not really necessary. You can check this box if you want to have a little bit more security on there, but it's just a machine that I'm going to use for a little bit of web browsing and email and text-based stuff, and maybe some YouTube. So there will be no real there won't be very much of personal information on this computer. So I'm going with option number 2. Again, if you want to keep using Windows 10 alongside XUbuntu, you can choose that over here. So that's completely up to you. But I'm going with option 2, erase the disk completely and install XUbuntu. Go ahead and install now. A little bit of a warning to tell you that everything will be erased. That's just fine for me. Click continue. And now it detected our location. If it does not detect your location, if you're offline, then you'll have to, you can, if you live in, say, Paris, you can enter Paris over here. See, you can Paris. So we are in Belgium time. Click continue. Over here we can enter our name and a password. Just quickly with a super weak password just for the demo. Just, if you choose a password, you would obviously choose something better. When I click continue, and then just wait for the installation to complete. So now the installation is complete. We can restart. You can click the restart now button and the machine will reboot. So there we have it. The machine has rebooted, of course. It might be so if you're rebooting the PC that the installation restarts itself again. So be sure to unplug the USB stick before you restart the computer, because otherwise it might be so that the computer will start itself off of the USB stick again, and that's something you don't want, of course. So be sure to remove the USB stick before you reboot the computer. So let's log in here. So yeah, this is it, guys. There is nothing more to it. Just one thing, to get started, you just click this little mouse icon over here, the XFCE icon over here. This is the XUbuntu logo. You'll see And right over here, there's pretty much all you need. Your web browser, your mail reader, your file manager. You got your writer over here. You got your calculator, or calc. This is the LibreOffice alternative to Excel and Word. And all the rest, you can go ahead and explore the operating system a little bit over here. But pretty much if you want to use like a web browser, the default is normally Firefox. So if you click web browser, Firefox should open. And pretty much all you need if you're just doing a little bit of web browsing, email, and maybe some text processing, this XUbuntu with the XFCE desktop environment will do just fine for you. So I hope this video helped you out, guys, and if it did, you know what to do. Please leave a like and a comment below. And if you want to see more of my videos, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.